Hi, and welcome to the Mayor's Office. My name is Sue Vaterlaus, and I am the Mayor of the City of Pacifica. And we're doing a show that we do periodically called the Mayor's Office, where we invite someone to come and speak to you to give you some educational information, either about Pacifica or life in general. And today I am joined by Dr. Karen Ferguson, who is the CEO of CORA, which is the Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse. And the reason I invited her here today is because I heard a program called Speak Up, which was done by CORA, and it's to educate people about relationship abuse. One of the things I learned that I hadn't even thought about was domestic violence is not just something against women, but also a percentage of it is against men. And I learned so much that day that I decided that I would have a show with Dr. Karen to explain to everybody what their program does and what they offer for people who need help. And so, Dr. Karen Ferguson, go ahead.
Thank you so much. And it's absolutely lovely to be here. And I really appreciated that you saw the presentation and that it had that kind of an impact for you. And that you thought about even some of what we were talking about just in the terminology, because we do talk about it as domestic violence, but you were calling out that often brings to mind gender specific, but it's 1 in 4 women who experience abuse. It's 1 in 7 men who experience abuse. It's 1 in 2 trans individuals who end up experiencing abuse within their lifetime. So it absolutely is not gender specific, and we're so much more aware of that these days. But also just in thinking about the terminology, because we say domestic violence, and that's kind of the words that we hear out there, but domestic really implies a residence, sometimes it implies marriage, but there are a lot of intimate relationships that we have where abuse can happen, where people might not even be living together. And then we also often use that term domestic violence. So we're thinking immediately of what we see on the media. We see the individual who has the black eye, the bruises on their arms. And certainly that is a significant part of intimate partner abuse. But there's also financial abuse, there's verbal abuse, emotional abuse, there's actually spiritual abuse. So there's so many different ways that one person can assert control and power over another. So really the terminology we end up using is intimate partner abuse rather than domestic violence.
And that's quite a bit different. And it can happen to anyone, anytime. And probably does happen to a lot of people who never really even admit that it's happening. The verbal abuse, just thinking about the financial abuse, where you're not allowed to spend any money. And that makes it difficult. And that is abuse. It's control. And a lot of it is about control.
Exactly.
So can you tell us more about the Speak Up program?
Sure, exactly. That is really what we're doing with the Speak Up program. So I have to say that the Speak Up program came out, you called out that there have been incidences in Pacifica. We know that there are throughout the county. And there was a particularly horrific murder of a woman by her intimate partner in San Carlos. And so the city said, we want to do something about this. And they reached out to CORA, and we took a look at the situation, and this woman was killed out on the street in front of her home in the middle of the day. She could have been going about her day, connecting with stores and libraries and all of these places. And so as we thought about it, we thought truly what her name says about community, that it is the community's part in all of this to know enough about abuse that maybe a person like her could have had somebody reach out and say, hey, do you need help? And so we developed Speak Up. And Speak Up really is a 15-minute presentation. And we go around to as many businesses as we possibly can in a city. We started it in San Carlos. And we knock on the doors, we give bathroom stickers and a little bit of information, but we say, would you like this 15-minute free presentation? And so after we started that in San Carlos, we asked who are the cities throughout the county, and Pacifica raised their hand right away. And the response here has been amazing. So the staff at CORA have gone around and shared this presentation, which does really 3 things. 1, talk about what do we mean by intimate partner abuse? What is that control? Then secondly, how do you recognize that? If somebody comes into your shop and you're doing their nails, what might you notice about them besides maybe a bruise on their wrist, but maybe how they're talking, how their phone is constantly getting texts because somebody is asking, where are you all the time, right? So those red flags. And then what is it you should and maybe shouldn't say in situations?
And I thought that was a very important feature in the lessons I learned. Was what to say and what not to say, because my initial reaction was to say, why didn't you leave? Mm-hmm. Well, that's incorrect, because there are a lot of things involved there, which a lot of them that I didn't think about. Yeah. Because the control of your finances, I thought, oh, well, I could just go to a hotel. But no, because the other person might have the same credit card. They know exactly where you went. So that doesn't do any good. And maybe you don't have control of finances and can't leave. Maybe you don't have a control of a car. And so there was a reason why they went to the shops and the businesses in Pacifica, and I'll let you talk a little bit more about why you go there.
Yeah, absolutely, because I think that it is important to do both of those pieces. To have people that are interacting, we're all connecting with each other. If we think about walking down a street and we see 20 people throughout that walk, well, if 1 in 4 women, 1 in 7 men, and 1 in 2 trans individuals are being affected, we're walking by somebody right now who has been affected. And then if you think about our families and our neighborhoods, in fact, I'm sure many of the people that are watching this show have some unfortunately close connection to somebody who's been through this. And so we wanted people to be able to recognize when abuse was happening, but then it is natural to want to say, why don't you leave? It's my sister. I want her to change and get out of this situation. Why don't you leave? And unfortunately, that does 2 immediate things. Because if I say to my friend or whoever, why don't you leave? Now they feel a little judged. Because I'm starting to say, well, you're not making the choices that I think you should. And so it closes the door to them being able to come back and say, okay, this is getting more concerning. I think I might need your help. I might want to make a plan. I might want to find resources. So we want to keep doors open for people. And then the second reason for why don't we leave is that when a person gets ready to leave, they often end up signaling that to their partner in some way. And that is unfortunately when situations can get very dangerous. So we don't want someone to leave until they are prepared and have thought through a plan as best as possible. That doesn't mean that, of course, if somebody leaves their house urgently, that isn't the right thing to do. It is. But we don't want to encourage somebody to leave when they weren't really thinking about it and they start to do it because we think they should. We want them to do it when they're prepared and ready. And it's one of the things that CORA does. Actually, people call the hotline. We make a plan with people. What would be a safe way to leave?
And it might not be this minute. It
Right.
might be later when they're ready. They may not be ready at the time when maybe the sister or the friend thinks so. And with the shops having the information and the businesses, it's important because they can just give them the information on how to contact CORA and to explain what CORA does. And they have safe locations and they can offer help, but at their own time.
Exactly.
Not on my time, on their time. And I think that was a big thing to learn, and that often people who are in abusive situations are still at stores. Mm-hmm. They still are getting their nails done. They are going grocery shopping. They are getting books from the bookstore. And it's important for our shop owners to notice that something's happening to that person.
Yeah, because we all are the eyes of the community. Mm-hmm. And when you see somebody that's come, repeatedly to your place of business, you get to know each other and you start to notice, gosh, this person has not got that same energy and vitality that they had. And I am seeing these signals that they seem to be more isolated, that they seem to be really emotionally affected, that there is that sort of watchfulness that's happening over their phone, or they start to go to pay for something that they used to be able to pay for easily, and they sort of talk about the fact that they don't have control of those finances. So there's all sorts of things we can all be looking at to know. And then we leave in the stores even a business card that just says CORA without saying Community Overcoming Relationship Abuse, and has a QR code. So the person can just slip it in their bag and then, go to our Get Help page at any time to be able to see if they want to hit some of our services.
And that store owner may be the only person that they're available to talk to. And so it's really important. And if they have made an attempt to have a relationship with you, it's an important thing for them too. And in their own way, they're reaching out to try to get help that they will eventually get. And I think that's important too.
Yeah. So you were mentioning some of the different services. So, that business owner is not alone. Just connecting a person to CORA gives them access to 24/7 hotline, 365 days a year. So at any time somebody calls hotline, that call is going to get answered and that person is going to be given guidance. And then we have emergency shelter for those people that might need it. We might immediately hotel them, or we have safe houses where it's a hidden confidential address. We have rental assistance programs if people need to move into a longer term housing support. And then we have legal and mental health services, which are really important as people move through this process. All of that is our intervention services, and CORA does also provide prevention and education programs like the Speak Up program.
And you can accommodate their children, and I don't know about pets, but sometimes pets are important for families too, to have with them because they're part of the family. And you have just seen on the screen the 24-hour hotline number. Mm-hmm. So it is
Wonderful.
Available, and you can always look up CORA, and it's such. There it is right now.
Ah, great. There we go.
There we go. So that's an important thing. And can you tell us more about more signs that maybe people can look for?
Yeah, so I think some of the signs that we talk about specifically in Speak Up, one of the things that's really out there in social media now is understanding love bombing. Mm-hmm. So people often start to share, oh, I met this person and they're just the most perfect person and they're just bringing flowers every day and doing all of these things. So as part of a community, when we see that really rapid fire romance that just seems to sweep somebody off their feet, it's a good clue to listen carefully. Not that somebody can't be swept off their feet, sure, that's always lovely. But often people who really want to seek control of another start by sort of bringing somebody in and making them feel like they're the absolute center, because this gives me then, if I'm wanting to assert control over you. You're pulled in quickly, and then we become like one, and now I'm going to assert that this is the way I want the relationship to be. So, and how could you disagree with me? I've just plied you with flowers for the past 2 weeks, right? So love bombing is an interesting one because we don't think of that as abuse. But it is an important one. And our phones, really, the tracking on the phones, hearing somebody mumbling about feeling like they're being tracked or watched or seen when they're sitting there for, you know, maybe a nail appointment or whatever, and the phone starts to do that sort of, you know, constant texting because somebody's asking, where are you? I think the third one that I think of a lot is when people talk about themselves in that really disparaging way because they're internalizing that abusive language. So, you know, how's the relationship going? Well, I just don't seem to ever make dinner the way they want me to. So I think, you know, those are some of the things that as we get to know each other, just in our daily business, as you said, on the streets, we can pay attention to each other.
I had a roommate who was abused, married the man, was abused for many, many more years after that. Always, we tried, but we probably said the wrong thing. We probably told her, you need to leave, and it wasn't the right thing to say. But for her, it was always her fault. She would deny and say, oh no, I did this, it was my fault, I didn't do this right, I didn't do that right. And finally, many years later, he had an illness and passed away, and I saw her after that. I didn't see her for many of those years, and I saw her after that, and she had found a true love relationship and told me, I'm so sorry that I couldn't listen to you at the time. The other roommate also, and we tried, but it didn't work. It was her issue, not ours, and she needed to be the one who dealt with it. But she realized how different life was when she had someone who really cared about her, and didn't abuse her. So it was.
I'm really glad to hear the end of that story.
Yes, you are, and me too, because we felt so bad for her for so long, and nothing that we could have done about it, except we could have referred her to CORA, but those were many, many years ago, and they may have had something similar, but we didn't know about it.
Yeah, well, and I do think that one of the beauties of where we are now in terms of the media and social media is that it is more out there. And so I do think that at times people have that ability and that opportunity to really think, gosh, is this really the way the relationship should be? And so there are those moments where we as a friend or as an acquaintance seeing somebody can say, have you ever thought about reaching out to CORA and just asking for a little bit more information?
I think it's just so valuable for people who may not even realize what they're going through at the time.
Yeah, and I think, you know, I really welcome that as you showed the hotline number. That hotline number doesn't have to be for a crisis. So if somebody is just wondering, and for all of the community, if you have somebody where they're saying, I don't know, maybe it's really my fault, but does seem like sometimes this isn't right, call us. So we actually do, you know, create that really open space where somebody can talk, start to think about it. We try to ask some questions that might get them thinking a little bit more about, is this really what I want within a relationship? Is there a chance for me to think about this more? What would that mean? What would be maybe scary about that? Because there are many reasons we were talking about earlier why people do stay. Not only the finances, but often if you have children with somebody, how difficult that is to think about yourself in a relationship, but then what that would mean for your children. So our hotline is there not just for the emergency, but really to help people think it through.
And maybe someone to talk to, and someone to talk to again, because it may take several times for them to actually understand what's happening. And the fact that you said, I didn't even remember this one, was about the religion. And not something I would have thought about. But maybe I'm a different religion and you're not letting me celebrate my religion. Mm-hmm. And that's abuse too.
Yeah, absolutely.
And things that, it's so intense and so life-changing for people. And I really, again, appreciate that you have this service available. And where are you actually located?
So the main offices for CORA are in the city of San Mateo.
Okay.
But we have a satellite clinic in East Palo Alto. And then we do a lot of work with the law enforcement, both the sheriff's substations as well as the police departments. Not so much because we want to be always connected. I think there are a lot of reasons why people may want the police involved, and there are a lot of reasons why sometimes people don't want the police involved. But frequently when things get serious, people are going to call 911. And if they call 911 and it has to do with domestic abuse, with intimate partner abuse, then the law enforcement agrees as part of a partnership across the county to make sure that the family is left with information about CORA so that they can reach out, whether it's right at that moment of the crisis or the next day. And for certain situations, even CORA will reach out after a police encounter in order to offer some services, to offer that chance for people to talk, discuss, maybe get some help. So there are a lot of different ways that we connect across the county. We are hoping to actually have an access point on the coast.
Which would be great.
I know. I won't say too much more about that yet, but Pacifica has been such an incredibly welcoming community, and we would love to make sure that there's even more access to CORA, even locally as well.
Mm-hmm. That would be, I think, really good for our citizens and people who actually need the help. And it all, some of these stories that we told make it just sound like it's the end of the world, and it's not. It's not. There's help there, and I think you guys provide it really well.
Yeah, we do. There are so many examples of individuals who have reached out to CORA at truly tragic times in their lives, and through the services have gotten the legal services that they need, have gotten the mental health services that they need, and then also the rental assistance a lot of times, so that they really can establish a whole new path. There was a woman that presented for us, and she lets me tell her story, but she stayed in an abusive relationship for 25 years because of the children. She really believed that to try and raise the children, how was she going to work and be able to actually provide them with the same kind of home that they got when the couple were together, and that the children would miss their father, who was a good father. He just was an abusive spouse, which still affects the family, but she was really struggling through that. And so it wasn't until the children were grown and gone when she decided, after one incident that really did get very physical, that her daughter had given her the CORA card and she was going to call CORA. And so she called CORA. CORA assessed that she was actually in quite a bit of danger and moved her out that night. And she stayed in our safe houses, and then she did get into the rental assistance program. And she said that she knew things were totally changed, not when she got her car, not when she finally had a job on her own, not when she was finally able to take her kitty cat back to stay in the apartment, but when she was able to have Thanksgiving dinner and have all her grown children and have them see her in this really healthy, independent place. And she knew that they now had a model for their own families that she hoped would keep them on a better path.
And that can be an issue too, what your children see, and maybe, like my friend, think it's normal when it's really not. Yeah. And that education is just so important. So that was a great story too.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, it just makes me feel good.
Yeah.
to know that she got to a safe place in her life and is now totally turned around.
Exactly. I think people ask us a lot, how can we work in this field? Because it sounds like it is so intense and depressing. We're there to be there to help in that moment, but only because we believe in the hope of the down the line. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. People can get there.
Uh-huh. And what city are you doing next in your Speak Up program?
Oh, we are branching out to a lot of different cities. So I know that City of San Mateo is upcoming. We've been actively already in East Palo Alto. I believe that Daly City probably closed out, and South San Francisco they may be just finishing up, and then of course Pacifica. So that's 5 cities I just counted on my hand right there already.
That is so many people that you've reached out to that you can help. If you help one person, that's great.
It will be worth it.
It will be worth it. And it is a really special. I like I said, when I first listened to the program, I was so amazed at what I had no idea about. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't a long presentation, but it was just like so many things to think about. Mm-hmm. The differences, like what to say, what not to say, how do you hand someone a card when you think that they need it, and having cards that specifically you don't say what they're for, I think is a really good thing too, because then they can anonymously have the information, and they may keep it for a while, but they may call right away.
Right.
And that's good.
Exactly.
So,
exactly. We have lots of those cards. And we have also bathroom stickers, and we are happy to give those to any business in the county. So even if you're not part of the Speak Up, just call CORA and say, I heard about these bathroom stickers and I'd like some, or some cards for your business. We would be thrilled to give those out to people.
I have some in my office right now.
Wonderful.
So I don't think we put them in the restroom yet, but we will.
Okay, we'll make sure that we get them.
Next time I get there, we will have restroom stickers also.
Terrific.
So again, I am the mayor of Pacifica, and I'm with Dr. Karen Ferguson. And are there additional things you'd like to say?
I just hope that whoever watched this show maybe shares with somebody else, because as we said, if you just think about the statistics, somebody within your circle is potentially going through this right now, and sometimes you just don't know. So share that you heard about CORA.
Thank you. And this has been really informative, and it will be on YouTube, so people can watch this and share with people who may need it. Thank you very much for being here.
Oh, I'm so grateful to you and to the City of Pacifica.
Thank you.